I kid you not, this is the most bullish setup crypto has seen in its short 15-year history. Things are looking incredibly good right at this moment. We are less than 10% off all-time highs, yet there's no mainstream interest in crypto right now, no one is searching for it, and there's no news coverage at all. That means one thing: right now is a massive opportunity. In this video, I'm going to cover 7 extremely rich, powerful, and influential figures who I think there's a high likelihood have either been buying Bitcoin right now, or it will be revealed over the next 12 to 18 months that they've been buying Bitcoin. These figures are whales. By themselves, they have enough capital and control to influence the price of Bitcoin and the direction of crypto markets. We are talking about figures that control billions and billions of dollars, and some who are amongst the richest people in the world. Over the past few months, a few of these figures have been dropping small hints that they have been buying Bitcoin. In this video, I will reveal all, and I'll lay out every single figure I think has been buying Bitcoin, and will be disclosing it over the next 12 to 18 months. Before we jump into whale number 1, I hate to do it, but less than 5% of our viewers are actually subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy finance, investing, or crypto content, do me a quick 5-second favor and hit that subscribe button below. It's completely free and helps out the channel more than you know. The bigger we get, the bigger guests we can get on, and the better content we can provide for you. But without further ado, let's jump into the top 7 whales who I think are buying Bitcoin. Alright guys, let's jump in. We are covering the 7 whales who I think are secretly buying Bitcoin. They're either buying it right now, or it will be revealed over the next 12 to 18 months that they've been buying Bitcoin. Now, why is this important? First of all, a lot of this information it's very little known information. Not a lot of the market know about it, so I think it's good. It'll make us better investors if we all know this information. The more information we have, the better decisions that we're going to make, the better investment decisions we're going to make, which means that the more money we are going to make, which is what everyone wants. Everyone wants to make more money. Finally, it's useful to know what's coming down the line. If we put together all the hints and cryptic messages that people are putting out there, it's useful to predict the future. And finally, if you know the level and sophistication of the whales that are looking to buy Bitcoin, or it's highly likely that they're going to be buying Bitcoin in the very near future, I think it's going to help your decisions when it comes to investing in crypto and probably increase your conviction. If you know that some of the richest people, the smartest people in the world, and the most sophisticated investors are potentially buying Bitcoin. So let's jump in with whale number 1. And most of you have probably heard about this. This is the most highly rumored one. It is Michael Dell. Now, you might know Michael Dell. He is the CEO and founder of Dell Computers. Everyone knows Dell Computers. They're a huge company. But what a lot of people don't know is the founder behind it. And Michael Dell, he's kind of a legend. And here is why. First off, he started Dell in 1984. But what a lot of people don't know is that he was just age 19 when he started it. So he was super young. And he only started it with $1,000. This is Michael Dell back in the heyday when he was just a youngster starting out in Dell. So he's kind of a legend. So skip forward to today. Michael Dell is the 15th richest person in the world. So he's a mega whale. To put his net worth in perspective, he's worth about 20 Michael Saylors. So Michael Saylor is one of the biggest whales in Bitcoin today. Michael Dell by himself is worth 20 Michael Saylors. So that's insane. It's worth $100 billion. Michael Saylor, who everyone knows, he's worth about $5 billion. An interesting point, and this is super rare for such large companies, is that Michael Dell has 51% ownership of Dell Technologies, which means he doesn't need approval from his board. He doesn't need approval from investors to make decisions. This is super important. He has 51% ownership of Dell, and that's super, super impressive and rare. Dell, the company, is worth $90 billion. And when companies generally get to this sort of size, they have to give up a lot of their ownership percentage to raise money. And they generally only own 10%. They're lucky to have double digits. Michael Dell owns 51%, has 51% ownership of Dell, which is super rare. So keep that in mind. Now, let's take a look at Dell Technologies. It's the Dell Computers that everyone knows and loves. It's a public company. It's under the ticker Dell. The current market cap of it is $90 billion. Michael Dell is worth over $100 billion, which just shows the strategic investments he's made in different things. He's worth more than his entire company. Majority ownership, Michael Dell. We said this is important. And they currently have cash on their balance sheet of just under $6 billion. So that's important. Dell, the public company, has just under $6 billion. And we know that that cash is burning. And trust me, Michael Dell would be well aware of this as well. At what rate is that cash burning at? What rate is it losing value? Well, if we go by CPI, it's losing between 3 and 7% per year. Every second is getting less and less valuable. Everyone knows the time value of money, inflation, but everyone knows that CPI is kind of a bogus statistic. They sort of make it up. It isn't really based on logic or anything. You can twist the numbers however you want. So a more realistic number that cash is being devalued at is around 15% per year. And trust me, Michael Dell would know this intimately well. So Michael Dell has a massive problem on his hands. He has Dell Technology, $6 billion on its balance sheet, and it's losing its value at around 15% realistically per year. So why do we think Michael Dell is a buyer? What clues and what hints has he been putting out into the market? So as of yet, nothing official has been announced. Dell Technologies and Michael Dell have made nothing official, but he has left some various clues and hints that suggests that he may be doing so. So let's cover them all from the beginning. So the first clue was, no one knows this, Dell has been curious about Bitcoin for a while. Interestingly, they were one of the first companies to embrace it. So back in 2014, which is super early, I think a lot of people hadn't even heard of Bitcoin back then. They started accepting Bitcoin as a payment. And to incentivize for this, they also offered a 10% discount on some of their products when customers bought in Bitcoin. So that is super interesting. Dell has a history with Bitcoin, and they were one of the first companies to embrace it. So they understand it. And if you don't believe me, here is the announcement from back in July 18, 2014, that we're now accepting Bitcoin on Dell.com straight from the Dell Technologies website. Not a lot of people know that. Dell has a history with Bitcoin. Now, jump forward to today, and we got a cryptic tweet from Michael Dell. On June 20th, so just a month ago, he tweets, "Scarcity creates value." A little cryptic tweet. And the GigaChad Michael Saylor, he replied saying Bitcoin is digital scarcity, which by itself doesn't mean a lot. But then Michael Dell went ahead and tweeted it, which shows he's either a fan of Michael Saylor or he's a fan of Bitcoin. So super interesting. Next clue, he then followed this up by putting up a poll. He said, "What do you think will be the next breakthrough in tech? Please vote and share your thoughts." He gave 4 options: quantum computing, AI, blockchain, and space tech. Interestingly, he put blockchain on there, and because of the Bitcoin and crypto community on Twitter, it won by landslide. So he's sort of seeing the power of the Bitcoin hornets on Twitter. Jump forward to clue 5. Michael Dell, out of the blue, puts up a Cookie Monster eating Bitcoin, saying this is a great account to follow. Me, Cookie Monster, very entertaining. Very out of the blue to be posting Cookie Monster eating Bitcoin. Wasn't bull posting anything about Bitcoin before this point. It's all happened in the span of a few days. Clue number 6, he followed this up with another poll. He goes, the most important thing, gives 4 options: AI, #Bitcoin, love and relationships, none of the above. Bitcoin wins by 43.1%. So again, he sees the power of the Bitcoin community and he's clearly interested in it. All of a sudden, he's posting it constantly. Then jump forward, he leaves another cryptic clue. This one might be reading it into it too much, but after all of those posts about Bitcoin, he posts do is greater than say. Now, this just might be one of those posts, but to me, I interpret it as he's not talking the talk, but he's actually going to walk the walk. He's actually going to do actions behind what he's saying. Is he saying that in terms of a Bitcoin strategy, potentially putting Bitcoin on the Dell balance sheet? Maybe. This one is the most grasping at straws, I would say. And then jump forward to clue 8. Just this month, last week, he reposted an interview clip of Larry Fink. If we don't know Larry Fink, he's the CEO and co-founder of BlackRock. They're the biggest asset manager in the world. Larry Fink is one of the most powerful people in investing, finance, and just generally in the world. BlackRock essentially owns everything. And in this interview, he calls Bitcoin a legitimate asset and that he's a true believer in Bitcoin. Their Bitcoin ETF crushed all the records, and he's pretty much being very supportive of Bitcoin. And by Michael Dell retweeting it, he's clearly paying attention. He's still in the Bitcoin conversation. He would be well aware of this. You don't become the 15th richest person in the world without paying attention to all this stuff. So that's clue number 8, and that was super recently. Now, Dell, important context to add is Dell Technologies has been quietly crushing it in the background. Everyone's very familiar with the FANG stocks, Facebook, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, all the tech companies have been crushing it, but so is Dell Technologies. If we take a look at their stock, it's literally up and to the right. Dell Technologies, they're very good at innovating and keeping up with the times. So a key driver of them remaining relevant is that they keep up with innovation. So keep that in mind. They're crushing it. They have a lot of cash on their balance sheet. However, even though they've been crushing it, they haven't been crushing it as much as adopting a Bitcoin strategy. And we can see this by looking at the stock price of MicroStrategy. And where I've highlighted it there on the 7th of August, just after this is when Michael Saylor implemented the Bitcoin strategy at MicroStrategy. And as you can see, it has been explosive. Everyone thinks NVIDIA has crushed it, but really in the background, MicroStrategy and their Bitcoin strategy has absolutely crushed it, going from $123 to $1,700 today. That is parabolic upwards, up 1,300%. And trust me, Michael Dell would be paying attention to this. Michael Saylor proved out the Bitcoin strategy of converting your cash into Bitcoin. And as I said before, NVIDIA, everyone knows that they've been crushing it. But if you look at the comparison of all the tech stocks versus what MicroStrategy has done since they adopted the Bitcoin strategy on August 10 in 2020, they have crushed it. They're absolutely killing it. Michael Dell would be well aware of this. Then the Bitcoin strategy got proved out again back in May. Semler Scientific, they are a biotech publicly listed in the US. They also announced a Bitcoin treasury strategy, and what happened on May 28th, they announced it. They have since bought 828 Bitcoin for 60 million. So a lot smaller than MicroStrategy, just doing it on a smaller scale. But their stock price is up over 20% in 2 months since announcing this. So it's proven out again. It's proven that small companies, big companies, they can invest their balance sheet into Bitcoin and provide value to the shareholders. And Michael Dell would be well aware of this. So with all of that said, let's go over everything Michael Dell. He's known for embracing new tech and innovation. He's done it with Dell, and then he's done it with Dell, and that's why they've remained relevant and they've crushed it. He has history with Bitcoin. Dell accepted Bitcoin payments back in 2014, and they even offered discounts, so they know it intimately well. Michael Dell has been dropping hints on Twitter. He's, in just the last 2 months, he's been cryptically reposting Michael Saylor. Pretty on-the-nose hints. And finally, Dell Technologies is cashed up. They have $6 billion on their balance sheet. Michael Dell himself is the 15th richest person in the world. I think there's a 100% chance that Michael Dell personally owns Bitcoin, but will Michael Dell put Bitcoin on the Dell Technologies balance sheet? I think there is an 80% chance. Add everything together, add all the context. He embraces innovation and change, and I think there's an 80% chance. All right, that brings us on to whale number 2. And the whale number 2 is Elon Musk. So everyone knows Elon Musk, but just a refresher, he's the CEO of many companies: Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, now X, Neuralink, and Boring Company. Elon Musk is the world's richest person. Over the last few years, it's been jockeying back and forth, but as of today, he is the world's richest person. He's currently worth $250 billion. So if we use Michael Saylor as a measuring stick, he's worth 50 Michael Saylors, which is insane. And Elon Musk also has history with Bitcoin, and we'll cover all of that right now. So the beginning, back in December 2020, almost 4 years ago, which is insane, Elon Musk posted this meme on Twitter. It's essentially Bitcoin being a temptation and Elon trying not to pay attention to it and live a normal, productive life. Again, like before, the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, he replied, "If you want to do your shareholders a $100 billion favor, convert the Tesla balance sheet from USD to Bitcoin. Other firms on the S&P 500 would follow your lead, and in time it would grow to become a $1 trillion favor." Elon Musk replied to this, "Are such large transactions even possible?" Michael Saylor replies back, "Yes, I've purchased over $1.3 billion in Bitcoin in the past months and would be happy to share my playbook with you offline, from one rocket scientist to another." Then the interaction ended and we didn't see anything or what came of it. But then skip forward 2 months in 2021 and Tesla announces that they have bought $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. They've added it to their balance sheet, converted their cash, and they start to accept it as a payment method. This is February of 2021. However, then we see the selling. Just 2 months later, in April 2021, Tesla sells off 10% of their holdings, And Elon Musk says they're trying to show the liquidity of Bitcoin and that it can be bought and sold. However, then we start to get to the downfall. Elon says that Tesla will stop accepting Bitcoin for car purchases, so they start walking back the decision to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet and accept it as a payment. And this is just a month after they stole 10%. And what he posts on Twitter is that they've suspended purchases using Bitcoin because they're concerned about the increasing use of fossil fuels for Bitcoin mining. They say they will not be selling any Bitcoin. However, Elon also follows this up, showing the energy usage of Bitcoin mining, which was insane. And to be fair, it wasn't majoritively clean energy back in 2021 when he posted this. However, he does reply to a Bitcoin article saying they only sold off 10%, and that in the future, when Bitcoin mining goes above 50% clean energy usage and is trending upwards to be more clean, they will resume allowing Bitcoin transactions. And keep this in mind because this is an important point. So jump forward another year, and then Tesla has already sold off 10% of its holdings, and then they sell off a further 75% of its Bitcoin holdings. This was back in July 2022. And they say it's because they want to maximize their cash position. If you go back to 2022, stocks were getting crushed, interest rates were going up, crypto was getting crushed, Tesla sales were falling. So they said it was to increase their robustness and add to their cash balances. However, they're really walking it back. They've sold 10%, then they sold 75%, stop accepting it as payments. However, then skip forward to a year later in July 2023. This is around when Musk buys Twitter, and he reveals in an interview that he personally owns Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. So we know that he at least personally owns Bitcoin. And then skip forward to today. What do we know about Tesla? We know Tesla still owns 9,702 Bitcoin. They hold it on their balance sheet. That Bitcoin is worth $640 million at current prices. So they're still one of the largest companies that hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets. That's an important note. They still do not accept Bitcoin payments. However, we do have Musk back in 2021 saying that when Bitcoin mining goes above 50% renewable, they'll resume payments. And then Tesla has right now $23.1 billion in cash on their balance sheet. So they are hugely cashed up. They have a ton of cash. And trust me, Elon would know the time value of money. It's losing its value constantly. So we also know SpaceX is a private company, but they also own around 10,000 Bitcoin. So two of Elon Musk companies, Tesla and SpaceX privately, have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's super important to note. So he's done it multiple times. We know that Elon personally owns Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge. He revealed that in an interview. We also know Elon bought Twitter, he turned it into X, and he said that he has plans on turning it into a payments platform, and he's also hinted at adding cryptocurrency payments to it. He hasn't specifically said Bitcoin, but you would assume that that would be one of the things, and it would make sense to add it to the Twitter balance sheet if they're facilitating payments on the platform. We also know that Elon intimately understands payments and money. Just as a reminder, Elon founded X.com, which eventually turned into PayPal. So he was dealing with transactions, payment processing. He understands inflation, economics. He understands it all. So he understands it intimately well. Now, let's skip forward to today. Recent hints just this week, Elon Musk changed his profile picture on Twitter to the laser eyes. Everyone knows that the laser eyes is in the Bitcoin community. It's a way to show your support to Bitcoin. If you're a Bitcoiner, you change your profile picture to the laser eyes. And he didn't say anything about it. He literally just changed it to laser eyes. So that's hint number one. He also, alongside this, posted this tweet. Where are we with dollar value destruction, you might ask? And it's slowly showing the devaluation of money over time. As you can see, it eventually goes into Zimbabwe dollars, and then the only thing that's valuable is bullets along the thing. So this goes back to the point that I made. Elon intimately understands the value of money and the devaluation of it over time. And he just posted that this week. We also got David Bailey, who is the organizer of Bitcoin Nashville, which is going on this week. He reposted Elon Musk changing his profile picture to laser eyes. And David Bailey is the guy who got Donald Trump to speak at Bitcoin Nashville. And he followed this up with, I want to apologize in advance for breaking the internet. So the rumor that is circulating right now is that Elon is going to be a surprise speaker at Bitcoin Nashville, or that he's at least going to be in attendance. So there's a good chance of that. Now, what do we know? Let's add it all together. We know that both Tesla and SpaceX, they both hold Bitcoin. We know that Elon personally holds Bitcoin. We know that he has plans on turning X into a payments platform that may facilitate Bitcoin payments. And he said in the past he will resume Bitcoin payments at Tesla once it gets to 50% renewable energy. Now, this is important because of this graph. We can see that back in July of 2023, Bitcoin did pass this milestone. Over 50% of the mining came from sustainable green energy, and this is only trending upwards. So right now, a year later, it would be even better. So he said he would resume it once it got to this point. It got to this point last year. Interesting point. Now, what do we also know? We know that Elon loves drama and attention. If you follow him on Twitter or you follow his biography, he lives for it. He absolutely loves thrusting himself into whatever the mainstream story or attention is. He absolutely fiends for it. We also know that he understands money intricately. From his time at PayPal, he understands inflation, he understands payment processing, he understands the value proposition of Bitcoin, or he wouldn't have added it to Tesla and SpaceX balance sheet. What I think is the most likely case is that once Bitcoin gets a bit more attention, once crypto is really in the mainstream, when he first did it back in 2021, Bitcoin was all over the news. Everyone was talking about Bitcoin and crypto, and Elon really thrusted himself into the conversation by adding it to Tesla's balance sheet. I think if he does buy or resume payments at Tesla, it's going to be when Bitcoin and crypto it's in the heat of the bull run. It's either when Bitcoin's at all-time highs or we hit $100,000 Bitcoin. I think Elon is going to thrust himself into the conversation once again. That's the most likely scenario I see. So with all of that said, the likelihood I think Elon Musk is buying Bitcoin is 85%. It's more likely than not. He's done it in the past. He said he would do it again. And I think it just needs a bit more attention before Elon thrusts himself back into the conversation. Now, let's jump into whale number 3. But before that, if you've watched this far into the video, you're clearly interested in Bitcoin and crypto. Do yourself a 10-second favor right now and sign up to the Crypto Nutshell. It's a 5-minute, completely free email newsletter that I write up alongside a team of on-chain analysis to get you to become a better crypto investor. If you click the first link in the description, you'll see this. It'll take you 10 seconds. You just need to type in your email. There's over 60,000 subscribers already, and trust me, they all love it. Here's why you should sign up. It is written by not just me, but a team of on-chain analysts every single day. We never miss a day. Covers any breaking news in crypto that you need to know. It has daily expert predictions from people like Michael Saylor, Raoul Pal, Larry Lepard. Has all the experts and top analysts. We cover everything. And it has top on-chain analysis. We look on-chain to point out what we can expect. If things are bullish, if they're bearish, it'll make you a better crypto investor. And it only takes 5 minutes or less to read. It's super concise, super easy to read. Easy to understand writing. We make it super simple so everyone can understand it. It's in your inbox every single morning, super easy to read, and it will make you a better crypto investor. So do that. Click the first link in the description, type in your email, and I'll see you in your inbox tomorrow morning. Now, and it's also completely free. You have nothing to lose. It's insane. All right. And here's an example of what we did yesterday. Biggest news in crypto was the Ethereum ETFs launched. We posted it, and then we covered all the capital inflows and how they did in comparison to the Bitcoin ones. So super important stuff if you're a crypto investor. Now, let's jump in to whale number 3. Whale number 3 is Larry Fink, the CEO and co-founder of BlackRock. If you don't know Larry Fink, he is CEO and co-founder of BlackRock. They're the biggest asset manager in the world. They have over $10 trillion in assets under management, and they launched their Bitcoin ETF earlier this year, January 2024. Let's cover all of his history with Bitcoin. He wasn't always a Bitcoin fan. Back in 2017, he was very negative about it. This is what he said. He said, Bitcoin just shows you how much demand for money laundering there is in the world. And he said that there was no demand for his clients. So he didn't like Bitcoin, wasn't a fan of it, but that was sort of the common mainstream consensus back in 2017. Now, skip forward to last year and BlackRock applies for a Bitcoin ETF. Larry Fink goes on Fox News and says there's lots of demand from clients for crypto products. BlackRock is the biggest asset manager in the world, and they serve some of the most sophisticated and cashed up investors in the world. And he said there's lots of demand from his clients for crypto products. So they launched the Bitcoin ETF. In this interview, he also calls Bitcoin a flight to quality. So that's a huge jump from saying it's used for money laundering to now Bitcoin, if you invest in Bitcoin, it's a flight to quality. Then they launch the Bitcoin ETF. It gets approved and launches January 10th this year. And it breaks essentially every single record. BlackRock, their bread and butter are ETFs, and it breaks. Bitcoin is by far their most successful. It's only been going 6 months, and it's essentially shattered every single record that it could have. Right now, BlackRock by themselves hold over 336,000 Bitcoin, so over 1% of the supply, worth $22.17 billion, and they're making their management fee on top of that. So Bitcoin has been extremely profitable for them. So Larry Fink intimately knows that there's huge demand for Bitcoin. The ETF broke every single record. It's a flight to quality. He now understands it. He thinks there's future in blockchain. And recently, just this month, he did another interview and called himself a major believer in Bitcoin. And he called Bitcoin a legitimate financial instrument. So Larry Fink has been well and truly orange-pilled. So the likelihood that Larry Fink is buying Bitcoin, of course, they have their Bitcoin ETFs and they make money off it and they're invested in various Bitcoin miners. But I think that we'll see BlackRock make a move and be more involved in Bitcoin. And I think the likelihood of that is 70%. Larry Fink has been way too public about Bitcoin and supportive of it. I think he's making more moves in this area. So let's go on to whale number 4. Whale number 4 is Ryan Cohen. He's a bit more under the radar, but let me lay out who he is and why I think he's buying Bitcoin. For those who don't know who Ryan Cohen, he's the CEO of GameStop. And Ryan Cohen really came to prominence. He built and sold Chewy from 2011 to 2018. Chewy was a pet brand. They sold pet food and pet accessories. They're very big, I'm pretty sure, in Canada and the US. Pretty much entirely online. I think it was entirely e-commerce. Chewy sold to PetSmart for $3.35 billion. So he built it up for 7 years and then had a huge exit, became a billionaire. He then joined the GameStop board in 2021. And he's a very young guy. He's only 38 years old, worth $4.2 billion, worth just under what Michael Saylor is, but he's a youngster. And he's looking to reinvent GameStop. Everyone knows GameStop from the short squeeze that happened back in 2020, 2021, and then it happened again this year. But let's cover what they've been doing recently. This year, when we saw the stock rise and the potential short squeeze play out again, in May, they did a capital raising for $933 million, and then they followed this up just a month later, and they capital raised $2.14 billion. They took advantage of their high stock price and then raised a ton of money for investors. So GameStop is massively cashed up. Right now, they have $4.2 billion of cash on their balance sheet. And trust me, Ryan Cohen would know that it's losing value, and he would know the value in the Bitcoin strategy that MicroStrategy and Semler Scientific has demonstrated. So, some hints that they've dropped. In the capital raising announcement from GameStop, this is what they said alongside their capital raising. GameStop intends to use the net proceeds from the At the Money program for general corporate purposes, which may include acquisitions and investments. They may be using this capital raise to make strategic investments. Something that not a lot of people know is that back in 2022, GameStop launched an NFT marketplace. I think Ryan Cohen and the rest of the GameStop board, they need to reinvent GameStop. It's this old brick and mortar legacy gaming business, and they know the future of gaming is in blockchain and NFTs, and the entire crypto market is going to play a huge part of that, and they know that. So they launched an NFT marketplace back in 2022. So they know crypto, they know blockchain. It eventually didn't pan out, and I think they closed down their thing, but it's important that they're aware of it. Then, in October 26, 2023, Ryan Cohen posted this. It's a quote from Ludwig von Mises. The most important thing to remember is that inflation is not an act of God, that inflation is not a catastrophe of the elements or a disease that comes like the plague. Inflation is policy. Now, who is Ludwig von Mises? If you don't know who he is, he's a famous Austrian economist. This shows two things. It shows Ryan Cohen is a fan of Austrian economics, and secondly, it shows that he's very clearly aware of the problem of inflation and the devaluation of cash. Cash is trash. This is Ludwig von Mises. He's an Austrian economist, And he is known for two things, and let me know what you think this would point to. He is a big advocate for sound money, and he's a big advocate for a free market. Austrian economists are normally heaped into embracing Bitcoin. If you're an Austrian economist, you're probably a fan of Bitcoin and you probably own Bitcoin. So, another hint. Ryan Cohen posted a picture with Xavier Milei. He is the current president of Argentina. And he posted this April of this year. Now, why is this a hint? Milei, he's a controversial figure, but he was a huge critic of Argentina's central bank. He vowed to reduce money printing in Argentina, and he's also a very vocal supporter and vowed to embrace Bitcoin. And out of the blue, Ryan Cohen is posting a photo with him showing his support. And he's also posting Austrian economist quotes about inflation. If he's not a Bitcoiner, I don't know who is. So let's add it up. Ryan Cohen, he's a young guy, he's 38. That I would think would suggest that he's more open to embracing innovation and doing more risky strategies. He wants to transform GameStop into a new business. He's a fan of Austrian economics. GameStop had an NFT platform in the past, so they know blockchain, they know it's the future, they want to get involved in it in some way. And GameStop has $4.2 billion of new cash on their balance sheet that is just devaluing every single day. An important note is that Ryan Cohen only owns 12% of GameStop, so it's not like the Michael Dell situation where he has 51% ownership and he doesn't need approval from his board. He can make decisions himself. Ryan Cohen, if he wanted to do a Bitcoin strategy or add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, he would have to get other stakeholders and the GameStop board on board for his Bitcoin decision. So I think that brings down the likelihood a bit. But adding it all together, what is the likelihood that Ryan Cohen is buying Bitcoin? I think it's 50% chance. I think he's an Austrian economist. He clearly knows the problem with inflation. He would be well aware of MicroStrategy, Semler Scientific, and what the Bitcoin strategy has done to their businesses. And I think there's a good chance. However, he's not a full owner of GameStop. He doesn't have majority ownership. So that could be an obstacle in the way. I think there's a 50% chance that we'll see it in the future. That brings us to whale number 5. Whale number 5 is Donald Trump, and the classic photo of Donald Trump surviving the assassination attempt, one of the best photos of all time. And we're not going to jump into politics, left or right. We're going to look at it completely from a Bitcoin perspective and a Bitcoin lens. So if you don't know Donald Trump, everyone knows Donald Trump. He's 45th president of the United States. He's worth $5.9 billion, so just a little bit more than Michael Saylor. And he's most likely to become the 47th president. And don't take my word for it. On poly markets where people bet on who is going to be the next president, Donald Trump currently at a 61%. Looks like he's going to win in a landslide according to this. So he is the most likely next president, so that's important. So what do we know? Donald Trump has a history with Bitcoin as well. Back in 2019, he said, "I'm not a fan of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air." He also said, "Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior." And he also said in 2021, Bitcoin seems like a scam. So he definitely wasn't a fan back in the day. However, this quickly changed. Donald Trump, someone on his team convinced him, I don't know who, but in 2022 and 2023, he made 3 different NFT drops. This was one of them. It was the Trump trading card games, and people loved it. They bought up millions of dollars of it in Ethereum. So Donald Trump, an ex-US president, launches multiple NFT collections, makes millions of dollars. So he's clearly interested in crypto or knows the potential of it and drops that. On top of this, we know Trump's wallet address, and it holds over $10 million in crypto, majoritively the proceeds he made from his NFT drops, so mainly Ethereum. He doesn't hold any Bitcoin as we know now, but it's interesting that he holds crypto in general. We also know that his wife did an NFT drop, and this one was specifically interesting. This was in 2021 because it wasn't an Ethereum auction, it was actually a Bitcoin auction. So Donald Trump, he owns crypto, he's done NFT drops, and his wife did an NFT drop and did a Bitcoin auction. So they understand Bitcoin, they know Bitcoin, they have history with Bitcoin. I think this is all important context and history. Then jump forward to this year. Trump campaign begins accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other crypto donations. We see a complete turnaround and Trump goes super bullish. Who knows if it's in a bid to buy votes or he just became orange pilled, but he does a full 180 on crypto, starts accepting crypto payments on the platform. In addition to this, at the 2024 National Libertarian Convention, this is what he says. He vows to keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. He vows that he will not allow the creation of a CBDC if he's president. And interestingly, he also says he will pardon Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht was the founder and operator of the Silk Road. If you don't know the Silk Road, it's really what proliferated Bitcoin as a payment method. It was the dark web marketplace, and Bitcoin was used as a payment method to purchase various stuff. And Ross Ulbricht was given a 2x life sentence. I'm pretty sure he was given the longest sentence for a non-violent crime in US history. And a lot of crypto people think it was too harsh. And there's been many campaigns from both Bitcoin and the crypto space to pardon Ross Ulbricht. So this was a huge move from Donald Trump, and shows him or someone on the Donald Trump team intimately understands what the crypto community wants by vowing to pardon Ross Ulbricht if he becomes president. So it's an important point. Then on June 12th, so just last month, we heard that Donald Trump met with a bunch of Bitcoin miners, and he posted this on Truth Social, his social media platform. He says, "Vote for Trump. Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a CBDC. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant." So this is a huge 180, and he becomes even more bullish and supportive of Bitcoin. This was just last month. This was then followed up with Donald Trump was announced as a speaker at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. That's happening this week. David Bailey, he's the organizer of the event, says July 27th, we changed the course of history. And there's been tons of rumors circulating that Trump is going to make some announcement at this conference. He's definitely going to be in support of Bitcoin, but they're thinking that the rumor is that he might make Bitcoin a treasury reserve asset for the US. We'll see if that is true. Yeah, as we can see, the rumors are circulating. Asset manager says Trump may make Bitcoin strategic reserve asset. Now, putting all of that together with all of the context, Trump has done multiple NFT drops. We know he holds crypto. We know he is super bullish on Bitcoin now. He's seen the power of the Bitcoin community. He understands it's a way to get votes. He's speaking at Bitcoin Nashville. I think that Trump is going to announce either a purchase that he's bought it personally, or he's going to introduce some strategy. I think the likelihood of this is around 80%. I think it's such an easy home run for him to become more popular and to win over a large portion of the voter base. And if he does something at Bitcoin Nashville, I think he'll gain a ton of favor with the Bitcoin community. So I think there's a very high chance of that as well. Next, let's jump into whale number 6. Whale number 6 is Brian Armstrong. If you don't know Brian Armstrong, he is the CEO and founder of Coinbase, the biggest crypto exchange in the US. They're publicly listed. Brian Armstrong is worth $11.5 billion, so that's over twice the size of Michael Saylor. He's clearly a fan of crypto. He's a CEO of Coinbase, and he has over a decade of experience in crypto. He founded Coinbase back in 2012, so 12 years ago now. Now, what not a lot of people know is that back in 2021, Coinbase announced that they'll be buying $500 million in crypto assets, and they also announced that they'll be investing 10% of their quarterly profit into crypto. So already, Coinbase has somewhat of a crypto strategy, not specifically a Bitcoin strategy, but they bought $500 million worth of crypto to hold on their balance sheet, and they invest 10% of their quarterly profit into crypto. Right now, Coinbase has over $7.18 billion cash. I know Brian Armstrong, of all people, would understand the time value of money, inflation, it's losing value constantly, and something needs to be done with it. I think the likelihood Brian Armstrong is buying Bitcoin, and what I mean by this, they're already doing it, so we know it's 100%, but I think they're going to increase their percentage allocation to specifically Bitcoin or ramp it up to digital assets. Maybe they up their profit margin to 20%. They'll invest 20% of their quarterly profits into crypto or Bitcoin. I think the likelihood of that of 100%, and we'll see that move done over the next 12 to 18 months. He's done it before. He clearly understands it. If we get a move upwards and it becomes more common, I think they increase their strategy. Next, we have whale number 7. Whale number 7 is, of course, Michael Saylor. This one is just a gimme, but I think it's important to know that this guy is going to continue to buy Bitcoin and he's never going to sell and he's never going to stop. And let's see why. So we all know Saylor. He's a CEO and founder of MicroStrategy. He's worth $5 billion right now. And he started the Bitcoin strategy in August of 2020. Let's see how it's performed since then. Since August 10th, 2020, when MicroStrategy first bought Bitcoin, to July, so right now, MicroStrategy has crushed it. Out of all these public companies that you know are doing well, all the tech stocks, Nvidia, which is far and away, it's gone parabolic, it still doesn't hold a candle to MicroStrategy. The Bitcoin strategy is overpowered, and Michael Saylor proved this, and this graph speaks for itself, honestly. We look at their price, it's up and to the right, it's parabolic. Michael Saylor has well and truly proved out the Bitcoin strategy. Here is a graph of all of Michael Saylor's buys. All the green circles are when Michael Saylor has bought. And then if you can see this dotted green line here, that's the average price of Bitcoin. So he buys it when it's going up. He buys it when it's going down. He hasn't made any sales. He buys it when it's underwater. He buys when it's at all-time highs. Michael Saylor is going to continue to buy, and that is a fact. Currently have over 226,300 Bitcoin worth over $15 billion. They own over 1% of the supply, and this is just one company and one man, and you can see how successful it has been. Trust me, other people are paying attention to this. Their last purchase was back on June 20th. They bought nearly another 12,000 Bitcoin, and they currently hold 226,331 Bitcoin. What not a lot of people know is that Michael Saylor personally holds 17,732 Bitcoin. So he's not just doing it with his company, he's also doing it personally. This guy has 100% conviction in Bitcoin, and he's never going to stop buying it. Now, likelihood Michael Saylor is buying Bitcoin, it's of course 100%. Now, we have a bonus whale. So that's 7 different whales, some of the richest, most sophisticated, successful people in the world who are either 100% buying Bitcoin, or there's a very high likelihood they've been dropping hints left, right, and center that they're buying Bitcoin. Some of the richest people in the world. If that doesn't increase your conviction, I don't know what else. This one is not as likely, but I think it's interesting, is Nvidia. So everyone knows Nvidia has been crushing it with the rise of AI and crypto mining. Everyone wants Nvidia's graphics cards, and they've become a money printer. They're just printing cash unbelievably so. Their profit is going up quarter after quarter. It's absurd. So let's look at their stats. They're right now the 3rd largest company on earth. They're worth over $3 trillion at this point. They're worth a huge amount of money. They are printing cash right now. Right now, they have that's a mistake. They have $31.4 billion of cash on their balance sheet. They do not have $31.4 trillion. That was my mistake. If we look at their stock, it's gone parabolic, especially over the last 2 years. They are printing cash at the moment, and now they have a problem. They have tons of cash on their balance sheet. What are they going to do with it? They know they're losing. It's losing value. Despite this, despite them absolutely crushing it and the AI revolution transforming their business and turning them into one of the biggest companies in the world, they still haven't beat the return on investment that the Bitcoin strategy has. This graph, it speaks for itself. So likelihood Nvidia is buying Bitcoin. I think it's much lower than the other ones, but there is a chance, 10%. I think if it gets popular and all these other whales do buy Bitcoin, there's a small chance that Nvidia allocates some of its huge cash reserves into Bitcoin, because what else is there to do with it? It's losing value. Not many things have the liquidity that Bitcoin does. Michael Saylor, Semler Scientific have proved out it's a proven way to return value to the shareholders. I think there's a small chance that Nvidia does this, or they might do some other strategic stuff. So that might be on the horizon. Anyway, that is the end. 7 different people, I think, buying Bitcoin. I hope this helped corroborate all the different little known information out there. It tells you the history and what might be coming down the line. I think it's very useful to know. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing to the newsletter. First link in the description. Consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. Helps out the channel more than you know. But I will see you guys all in the next video. Have a good one. And as always, all the best.